Hey, I'm Ilma, and this is kind of big one for me because today is the very first episode that I've ever recorded, and honestly, I couldn't have asked for any better guest than the one I'm recording with, Dominique Defoe. She is someone who really gets in. She is known for being on the show Too Hot to Handle and her very active presence on Instagram. And today, we are definitely going deeper than that. We will talk about identity, desires, and being misunderstood, and the version of ourselves that we hide from people who claim to know us. This show is called Unspoken for a reason because so much of what shapes us doesn't always get to said out loud. So, yeah, first episode, big heart, and a conversation that I'm really proud of. Let's get in. Well, hello, Dominic Defoe. Thank you and welcome for the very first episode of Untranslated. And it's so great to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
By the way, you look stunning as always.
Thank you. I've been running around, so I appreciate that.
So now let's begin our episode by you telling me who really is Dominic Defoe. Like, is she a ballerina, a tech nerd, a poet, or an influencer, or maybe the spice of the show? Too hot to handle.
Yeah. I think I'm probably all of it. Multi hyphenate. When you say it all like that, I'm like, wow, that's kind of a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, that is a
um,
lot. And that's really something that inspired me because I watched your videos and I was like, this girl done so much in this amount of time. So it really is inspiring.
Thank
So
you.
do you think people truly see yourself or they really see a version of yourself that they romanticize about?
Um, I think sometimes, but I think that's common for everyone. Like I tend to romanticize people all the time and like put people on pedestals and all that kind of stuff. But I feel like I try to be pretty down to earth with like how I don't really think about it that much. I'm gonna be honest. I'm like I really don't like think about it. I kind of just will like do whatever I want to do, and that's like always been the same with like how I present myself online and everything like that as well. It's not like super thought out or anything like that. I kind of just in the moment, whenever I feel a certain way or want to make a certain thing, like I'll just do it. And so I think that's probably just who I am. Like I just kind of I don't know, cliche, like follow your heart, but like yeah, like I just kind of like listen to what I want to do and I make it happen.
So is there anything that you want people to know that who I am? Like, I'm not telling you to fixate yourself, but something that you might want to convey.
Yeah, I think I am passionate and creative. And I think I'm somebody who is very supportive of people like following their dreams and being who they are and, being engaged with themselves and also being engaged with the world as well. So I guess that's how I would define myself as somebody who is very connected with humanity and who people are. And so I do the same for myself as well as other people. And I think that to sum it all up, I'm just like a very deeply curious person and a bit nosy. So I'm just like always trying to figure out life, figure out, other people, figure out myself. And I think that's probably one of my stronger personality traits.
That's one of the most authentic thing I've heard in a very long time.
Thank you.
If the world could hear one story from your life, what would it be?
Oh gosh. Probably in the book that I'm writing, which I can't really talk about right now, but that would be this story for my life up to this
Oh,
point. But
okay.
I would say another story would be, I guess, I always like find things that are contradicting in who I am sometimes. Like I literally just filmed a video talking about how it's easier for me to be brave because it's easy for me to quit. And then the story I'm thinking about is actually me very much persevering. So it's interesting, like that duality of like, oh, I think I'm this way. And then you're like, are you? So, but I guess like one story from my life that I think is like relevant.
About your book?
Yeah. Well, the book. But then also another one would be like when I was doing ballet, I was like pursuing it like full time, and then my studio closed, so I stopped for I think like 6 months or something like that, which is a very long time when you're doing ballet. Like in that time, like the people in your age group have just like soared and gotten way better. And basically like girls my age were like starting to get cast as like bigger roles, you know. And I was like a mouse in the Nutcracker, and I was like a mouse in the Nutcracker for 2 years, and I was like, wow, this is really embarrassing because like people my age are like doing so much better. And then I just like worked very hard, and then the next year I was like doing lead roles. Like I was doing Snow Queen, and I was doing Flower Queen, and then Spanish, and then eventually like I think like a year or two after that I was like Sugar Plum Fairy, which is like one of the best, like the best role you can do in the Nutcracker. And it was just like crazy because it's like, wow, 3 years ago I was like a mouse. So I guess that would be the story. Like, I guess if you want something really bad, you just have to go for it. And sometimes it's like embarrassing and you're like, oh my God, I'm in a mouse costume. But like, it's fine.
Okay, okay. So that's the thing, because I was always like something I can figure out myself, that sometimes I want a thing, and then for the next like maybe for the next hour I just want something different.
Yeah.
And at that time I couldn't figure out myself. So yeah, that's completely understandable from my point of view, because you might not even know what you want, but figuring out step by step is one of the greatest thing that you could do for yourself. And now we are gonna be like deep dive a little more intense by you telling me, like, how does healing works for you?
It doesn't. I don't know if I've ever like healed or gotten over anything, honestly. Um, and it's like interesting the conversations about healing, because I feel like it's they're very centered on the fact that there was like a reason for the things you need to heal from. And I kind of don't believe that. So I think that's maybe also why I struggle with it a little bit. Because I don't think that people need to be put through pain, emotional, physical,
Yeah.
like all the different manifestations of pain in the world. I don't find them very necessary. I don't think people should be hurting other people. So I think that like my relationship with healing has changed a lot. I used to be somebody who was very like concentrated on it. And I was like, oh my gosh, self-help books. Like I'm going to figure out why people are the way they are. But I think that led me to be more concentrated on other people's healing than mine. So like people I was dating or like my friends and stuff, like when you're so like educating yourself on all the best ways to grow and all the reasons that this suffering was important and made you who you are, like it kind of makes you almost see that in other people and want to help them instead of yourself. So I think like for me, I started to concentrate more on what is going to help me live with myself and what is going to make me move. Because I think like sometimes when you're caught up in healing, you're like so in your own head. Like I know my stages where I was like, I'm healing. I was like not leaving the house, and I was like not seeing anyone, not going out, like not experiencing life. And I think while that can be very good for you, it can also be like damaging if you stay in that energy. So I think something that's, and I think it's very like dependent on the person, and every single person has to find something that works for them and you know what's going to motivate them. For me, like the best way for me to kind of heal, quote unquote, was to figure out what I could live with for myself, like to process it in the sense of like writing. Making something of it has always been something that's very like cathartic for me and has always helped. And kind of talking about it has always helped, like with people that I love or just in general, like online, like, um, with therapists and stuff like that. Like talking about it has always been healing. Making art out of it has always been healing. And honestly, just sitting with it. I think like it's very like cliche, but like time does heal.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think that there have been things where I was like, I will never in my life ever get over this. And then you forget about them. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
it's like replaced by something worse. You're like, oh my gosh, something worse just happened. And I think that that's kind of like how it is. Like there will always be things that, you're gonna be like, what was that? And you're always gonna have to kind of figure it out. And I think that art and remembering to be in conversation with people is really healing in a way, because I think that one of the biggest things that gets damaged, especially for women when they have something they need to heal from, is their ability to express themselves. I think women can tend to become more silent after getting hurt. So I think counteracting that is definitely probably one of the more healing things that I found for myself, at least.
Okay. So, as you are someone who definitely grows in public, people see you every day, almost what you are doing and navigating stuff. So, how do you protect the sacred parts of yourself?
Hmm. Yeah. I'm actually like fairly private. Like I do post a lot and everything like that, but I think like as far as what's going on in my life, I'm pretty protective of it. Like I'll post to my friends and stuff like that, but like I don't really do like story times. I don't really talk about like people I'm dating. Um I don't really talk about like my family in a very personal way. I kind of like when I do make videos, it's like they are very personal to me and it's from my personal experiences, but they're ones that I'm willing to share. I am an oversharer, so there's a lot that I will share, but I think like when it comes to the people in my life and the things that I'm actively working on that you know are maybe more personal, I will keep that to myself. So if they're like, even when I do talk about things that I've been through and, like situations I've been in, it's usually after I've already processed it. So it kind of doesn't like, I'm not that attached to it anymore, if that makes sense.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So, what are you posting is not really affecting you the
Yeah.
way, yeah, yeah.
Like it just doesn't affect my personal life. I
Oh,
always make sure that nothing I post like will really affect like my personal relationships and everything like that, because I think like that's probably what's the most sacred to me is the people that I love and the people that matter to me. So I'm very careful about how I talk about that, those kinds of aspects. Whereas when it's me and how I feel and what I've been through, like I'm a lot more open about that because I just don't care as much. Like I did reality TV, like, but I would say that, yeah, that's the aspects, like bringing up people who don't do social media and stuff like that. That's where I kind of I'm a bit more private, and I think that that helps me kind of protect my sanity a lot more for sure.
okay, okay. Now, just tell me, if you could whisper one message to the younger version of yourself, what would it be?
I'm trying. I feel like I would just be like, I'm trying. Like, like we are doing our best. I feel like I did my best when I was younger and it never felt like I was, but I'm kind of at a point in my life where I think it's like sometimes it's like you don't do as much as you want to and you set these very high expectations for yourself and sometimes you don't reach them. And I think I've learned to have a lot more grace with myself and to not be as hard on myself. So I would say like I'm trying, you're trying, like it's okay. You're trying. And sometimes that's all you can do. So
Yeah, that's the. So you mentioned that poetry as a form of self-expression. So is there any like sentence or something that you heard, a part of literature that you heard or that you read or maybe written that changed your perspective on yourself or maybe the world around you, how you see things? So,
Yeah, there's this show and also book, and it's called Tiny Beautiful Things. And it talks about, oh, I think I have it. I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's pretty long. It's basically talking about like the ability to leave. I can't pull it off right now, but it goes something like this. It's like, even if you don't know exactly why you don't want to stay, it is enough that you want to leave, you know? So it's kind of like talking about this sort of idea of you question yourself and you're like, why do I feel this way? And maybe I should stay, and that would be the smarter option, like whether it's in a relationship or a job or like a certain place. And it's kind of like, well, that would be very impractical and illogical. And like, I should be grateful and this should be good enough for me, but it isn't. And so it's like, you don't have to have another reason other than you want to leave. And that is enough. And I think like I came across that poem at a point in my life where I was really struggling with my emotions in the sense that I was kind of like conflicted on what I wanted. And reading that gave me so much clarity on what it was that I actually wanted and what it was that other people wanted from me. And so I think that that entire poem and everything is like very beautiful. I would also say Olivia Gatwood, or oh gosh, yes, Olivia Gatwood. Her poetry is also very sensational. She writes like feminism kind of poetry, and her words have always been also very, very cathartic to me as well. So, yeah.
so it's, I think it's about intuition. Like if it's screaming and even giving you a hint that you really should leave that place, then you should. I
Yeah.
also believe in that thing because when, as I told you, that my intuition said that to me that she is definitely going to be a guest, and here we are.
See? That's crazy. I love that for you. Yeah.
So, what's one?
Manifestation.
Yeah, definitely. So, what's one thing that you want other people to ask you like a question, but they never really do? So, I think we should cover that on this episode.
Let me think. The question I would want people to ask me. I guess probably I think that I'm very in tune with how the people in my life feel and where they are in their life and everything like that. So I guess like sometimes I just like would like for people to ask me if I'm okay. Which is like a very simple question. You know what I mean? Like it's not very profound or anything like that. But yeah, I feel like people maybe don't ask me that as much because I think that I'm somebody who usually asks, and then it's like I'll, be like, oh, well, what about this and all of that kind of stuff. And I think in all of that, sometimes they forget to ask me how I am. So yeah, it's very simple, but I think that that would probably be the one where I'm like, I wish people asked that more, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
okay. Then tell me, as I've actually watched a lot of your video, not just one, but a lot. So, in one of your videos, that you mentioned the fact that you want to be a vibe. So, like, what kind of vibe are you?
It's a good question. What kind of vibe am I? Um, well, I recently got described as a cyclone, so I guess that's my vibe. Natural disaster. Um, I would say my vibe is somebody who's very fiery, um,
Creative.
creative, but I guess like I always think of zodiac signs when I think of vibes. So I'm Scorpio sun, so like water, but then I'm also Sagittarius moon and rising, so it's a lot of fire. So it's like I'm very emotional, but I'm also like very like protective and yeah, I would say my vibe is very I think I have emotional arsonist vibe. I said that in one of my videos. It's like I'm an emotional arsonist. I guess that would be kind of my vibe.
Okay. Then now tell me that are you currently working on something big that no one sees coming? Uh, One of the fact that you mentioned that you are currently working on a book, so maybe a little bit more about it, or maybe something that you wanna share.
Yeah, that would be the biggest thing I'm working on right now. Yeah, I'm writing a book. It's a fictional novel, and it's very dissociative. It's about girls and kind of their relationship with their own stories, and if women ever really own their own voices, or if that's something that's kind of taken from them. And it's not to get too much into it, but yeah, it's a little insane. It's a little fun. It's hot. So yeah, that's probably, or that definitely is the biggest project I'm working on right now. So
Okay. When people hear your name in the next 10 year, what you want, the first thing to pop up in their head, they
that I
hear.
have an Oscar and a Pulitzer. Yep,
Okay.
that would be it. And then I'm cool as hell.
Yeah, you definitely are. So, is there anything like you haven't experienced yet, but it's currently in your bucket list that you really want to pretty much do soon? So,
Something I would love to do soon. Finish the book. But I suppose I would love to learn how to do, gosh, I don't even know, trapeze.
what's that?
Trapeze, like, in the circus, and they have the girls that hang from the ropes and they like
Oh,
jump.
okay.
I'd love to learn to do that.
That's unique. One of the
Yep.
things that I never expected.
Yeah, it's on my bucket list.
Any advice for younger women who are navigating confidence and identity?
Hmm. I would say, and I've said this before, I think hating yourself and thinking about yourself very often is a very narcissistic trait. Nobody thinks about you as much as you think about yourself, and nobody cares. That is going to be a double edged sword your entire life. Nobody cares is so freeing, but then also nobody cares is like this daunting thing of, well, why bother? And the thing is, you have to prioritize your own voice saying that you need to do it more than anything else. When you suffer from issues with confidence, when you suffer from issues of your own ability, those are typically outside voices that you have internalized and taken in upon yourself. And you need to know the difference between what you've internalized from others and what voice actually belongs to you. And that's going to be hard sometimes. I think it's always really difficult. And I think even when you think, sometimes you're like, wow, I was actually influenced in these ways as well. And that's okay, And the ways you've been influenced, I would say something that was really helpful for me, like growing up and kind of like developing confidence in that, is that I would write about it, and I would go to poetry slams and I would perform that writing. I didn't give a fuck. Like, I would call people out. Sometimes that's what you got to do. Like, I don't do that anymore, but I used to be a person who was like very like direct and upfront and kind of shameless. And I think that to get over issues with confidence and to kind of really have what you want, I would say being shameless as hell when you're younger and allowing yourself to have those embarrassing moments. Like, I had a boy break my heart. I wrote a poem about him and I said it in front of my entire English class, and not a single person said a single word. They all got up and were like, wow, class is over. That was an embarrassing moment, but I also felt like really powerful in that moment. And it's like those moments where you take back your power. They're little. I mean, they don't seem little then. They seem like really cataclysmic, embarrassing moments. But I promise when you're older, they're going to be like little moments, but they're going to be the moments that shape you. So really like letting yourself say, like, nobody cares. Like, if nobody cares, then what's stopping you? You know what I mean? Like, just do the thing, embarrass yourself, fall on your ass, like whatever. When you're older, like, those are going to be the things that build up your character. They're going to be the things that build up your art. They're going to be what you make stories out of. They're going to be, what kind of influences the person that you're going to become. So I think when it comes to confidence, it's really just about, you got to fall on your ass sometimes. You got to be a little embarrassed, and yeah, it's an inevitable thing, and it's good for your character development.
Oh, that's great because I am someone who like really tries to be like direct and upfront, but there was always something in the back of head that's like nagging, even when you are like you are on the edge that I am going to do this, but then something like just came up like pop up in the head stops you. So
Yeah.
that's something like really difficult to overcome. Like be shameless, as you said, to be is something very difficult for some people. And
Yeah.
yeah, if just at that point we overcome that, and that could be something really great.
Yeah. I think it's instead of thinking about it, you just kind of got to do it. Like before you even have those thoughts of like, oh my God, these are all the reasons I can't, just let it be done. You already did it. You already messed up. So then it's like you have to process what you're going to do about it. But I would say, I think sometimes having like a healthy impulsivity when you're younger is a really great trait to work on, and kind of just being like, well, I already did the thing. So I can't go back from it. Like obviously don't do like anything actually crazy and insane, but kind of stuff that you're like questioning, like that little voice is like, oh, you can't do this and that would be dumb. And these are all the consequences and reasons. Until you let them have their power, just do it, and then have the different voice that's like, why would you do that? You know what I mean? Because you're going to suffer from it either way. It might as well be something that's going to give you a life experience. So
Ye-
yeah.
that's great. As an Indian, I am really curious, what's the first thing that pop in your head when you hear about a country, India?
Weddings.
It's something really popular.
Yeah, you guys have amazing weddings. That's what I always think about. Yeah.
Okay, then I might as well invite you to some.
Oh my God, yeah, I would love it. Also food. You guys have the best food. Like I order Indian a lot, honestly.
Okay, so you have any favorite Indian food?
Tikka masala. It's probably my favorite. Garlic cheese naan bread. I order other stuff, but I can't remember at this moment. I ordered this lamb dish, and it's like dry. There's no sauce, but I can't remember what it's called at this moment. For some reason, it's escaping me. But yeah, I don't know. I've tried a lot of different dishes as well, but sometimes I just don't always remember the names. So then it's like I look them up and I see the pictures. I'm like, that one. But yeah,
Have you ever planned to visit India? Any,
I
like,
would
is it
love
in your
to.
bucket list or something?
Yeah, I would love to one day. I don't have any plans in the next year or anything like that, but yeah, one day I would absolutely love to go to India.
Then I think we should meet when the moment came.
Yeah, I've had like family members and friends who've gone to India and they've just absolutely loved it and said it was like so beautiful and the people are all amazing and so nice. So I definitely would love to go one day. Yeah.
Indian families are definitely known for their close knit bonds and expectation. So, how do you navigate and balance like your personal freedom along with your family values?
Yeah. Well, I'm Filipino and Dominican, so Black and Asian, and my parents are both first generation immigrants. So I think that they've definitely had very high expectations from me my entire life. And I think being a girl typically makes that harder for some reason. The boys get a little bit more like lenience and grace. So I feel like that was something that was really, really hard for me when I was growing up. And I used to cry about it a lot. Like I would be very stressed out. And you know what I mean? Like if I got an A minus, I would be like, the world is ending. Like I got an A minus, because they would be like, well, why isn't it an A plus? Like, so it can be, I think it can be difficult. And I feel as if I didn't follow a very traditional life path. Obviously I went on reality TV and do social media, and I don't really use my degree at all, which is what I went to school for. So I think that I've been kind of lucky in the fact that my parents have always been like, as long as you're educated and you kind of have an idea of what you're doing, then they're like supportive of it. And I think that it took a long time for them to get to that point as well. And I think as we grow into adults, like our parents also grow up a bit. So I think I would say some of the time it gets easier. Obviously, depends on who your parents are. But I would say the way to balance it and the way to manage it, I found for me is like, honestly, I moved out. Like, I'm gonna be honest. Like, I think that like sometimes it's like, yeah, you do need that space. I feel like, and if sometimes I feel like that's not possible. But if it's not possible, then I think that maybe creating some kind of distance, some kind of like emotional distance, because I feel as if those expectations are kind of one of those things that you internalize and become like your inner voice. So finding a way to like correct it as it happens. Like I know for me, like I never argue with my parents like ever. Like I'll just be like, okay, you know what I mean? But like in my head, I'll be like, that's not true. So kind of like taking that space and allowing yourself to be like, that was not, accurate. That's not how I feel about myself. That's not how I feel about my life. That's not what I want my life to be. And these expectations like are not expectations I have on myself. And I think sometimes for me, like writing those things down is very helpful. So like if you like wrote down a list of like what you expect from yourself, you're like, what do I want for myself? What is my life that I want to create for myself? Who do I want to be? And then maybe doing a list of your parents' expectations and realizing that that belongs to them. This is their life that they're living now, and you're living yours. And you have those two sets and you know which one you're following because you've literally written it down and you've taken the time. And so sometimes like when those arguments come back up, you can look at the list and usually it's like the same expectations, like they fall under the same things, and be like, who does this belong to? And if it belongs to them, it's like that belongs to them, and you kind of have to practice the art of just detachment a little bit and learning to just be like,
Oh, you are your
that,
own person, kind of
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
So I was about to ask you, like, your degree, anything help you in your like career and stuff. Like, you are from tech background, so is that
Yeah.
something that really helped?
Yeah, so I did engineering. I did computer engineering. Does it help? Not very technically. So I mean, like, it's not like I code in my daily life or anything like that, but I think that it helped in the sense that it gave me a belief and just like this feeling like, okay, you can do something, like you can accomplish something and you can, see it through. And also, I think that there are skills that you learn when going through like this kind of degree, like technical skills, like being able to be like, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to work, and have that be a habit is like very helpful. I took some classes that I use, I guess, in my career. So like I know like for some of my electives, I took like video editing classes. I took like a color grading class and like a design class and stuff like that. And so that I probably use more than anything else. But I would say like at the end of the day, like I think that being college educated and all those things is always like a really good safety net to have, especially like in the creative careers. Not saying that everyone needs one, but it definitely does like
Yeah,
it's like a little bit of peace of mind. Yeah.
a strategic way of thinking and like discipline is what it gave you the most.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in the end, like if you could leave us with like one quote or like something that really sums up how you feel right now, so what would that could be?
Say I feel very hopeful. And I feel like things are panning out in the way that they're meant to. And even the things that were disappointing or that I wasn't expecting have like ended up working out to be things that were clearing the way for even better. So that's been really, really nice. Yeah.
Thank you very much for your wonderful presence. It's like really magical to have you on this episode.
Thank you. I
And
appreciate it.
for
Thank you for
everyone
having me.
listening, it's like her journey taught us something, that identity is never static. It's something that you create every single day. And for those listening and loving this episode, they can follow us on Instagram and our Spotify channel. Thank you, everyone.